Hi boys and girls, we're here again in front of our focus wall, and this week we are learning letter V. Now if you remember, we already did letter V back for Valentine's Day, so this is kind of review for us for letter V. But we have letter V, our number is 3, our shape is a circle, our color is pink, our character key is valiant, and it says, be strong and valiant, and that is from 2 Samuel 2:7. And our verse that we started to learn last week is, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you, and that is from 1 Peter 5:7. I'm going to read today 2 books. The first one is called Growing Vegetable Soup. How many of you like vegetable soup? I know I like vegetable soup, but we're going to read about growing vegetable soup. Dad says we are going to grow vegetable soup. How do you grow vegetable soup? We're ready to work, and our tools are ready too. And they have a rake, a shovel, and a hoe. Those are things that they need for growing their vegetable soup. We are planting the seeds. They have green bean seeds, peas, corn, zucchini squash seeds, and carrot seeds. And they are planting them in the soil. And they're wearing their gloves to keep their hands clean. And all of the sprouts. They have potatoes, and they have broccoli and peppers. Let's see what else they have. They have more things in pots. They're using their little shovel and digging holes to plant them. And of course you need to give them water. There's all their plants. Some of them that they planted that were already seedlings, they put them in, and here are the seeds underground, and they've marked them with markers so that you can know what's growing there. And they're waiting for warm sun to make them grow. You see them all starting to grow? They need sun and water and soil. And they grow. Look, they're getting bigger. And they're growing into plants. Look, some of the flowers are starting to come on for their zucchini plants. And some of them are growing already. Here's some peas. We watch them over and we weed them. So you have to pull the weeds. You have to watch and help them grow. This looks like some yummy broccoli. Until the vegetables are ready for us to pick. There's tomatoes and corn and peppers, and they're picking them all, taking them inside, and putting them inside their basket to take them in their house. Or we need to dig them up. They need to pull carrots, because carrots grow down in the ground, so they need to pull them. And then they need to dig up the potatoes, because potatoes also grow underground. So they're pulling the carrots and digging up the potatoes. And we carry them home, and then we wash them. This looks like maybe some cabbage and turnips, onions. And we cut them, and then we put them in a pot of water. See how they've cut all those vegetables up? And then they're putting in a pot of water. And we cook them into vegetable soup. At last it's time to eat it all up. It was the best soup ever. And we can grow it again next year. The next book that Miss Tammy is going to read is called Flora's Very Windy Day. Today is a very windy day outside. I can hear the wind blowing as I'm reading you these stories. Mommy, Crispin spilled my paints again, shrieked Flora. I told you to keep your paints out of his reach, said her mother. I tried, said Flora, but... Oh, look at this mess. Outside, Flora, right now. I can't go outside, protested Flora. The wind is very strong, and it will blow me away. Nonsense, said her mother. Flora thought for a moment. Of course I could wear my super special heavy-duty red boots. They'll keep me from blowing away. Fine, said her mother, and take Crispin with you. So here she is, and she was painting, and she made a big mess because her little brother got into her paints and spilled them on the floor. So her mom is telling her to go outside. Now Crispin did not have super special heavy-duty red boots to protect him from the wind. His boots were purple, and he couldn't do anything but keep his feet dry. Oh well, Flora thought. It wouldn't be her fault if Crispin blew away. So Flora put on her coat and her super special heavy-duty red boots. And her mother put Crispin into his little coat and hat and regular old purple boots. And when they all was done, Flora's mother opened the door and Flora and Crispin stepped outside. So there she is putting on her coat and her special red boots, and Mommy has put on Crispin's coat and hat and his purple boots. The wind was indeed very strong that day. It pushed and it pulled and it twirled and it twisted, but no matter how hard it blew, Flora stayed firmly on the ground. Ha ha, you silly wind, said Flora. You can't lift me up because I'm wearing my special heavy-duty red boots. The wind did not like being laughed at. It doubled its strength and it blasted mightily at Flora, but she still didn't budge. However, said Flora, you may notice that my little brother is wearing regular old purple boots. Do you see how windy it is and it's blowing all those leaves around? Now the wind tripled its strength. It swirled and it swooped and it whizzed and it walloped. And then, oh my, Crispin was being lifted off the ground. Just a little bit at first, but the wind grew stronger and Crispin went higher and then higher and then higher still. He was being blown away. He looked very frightened. Do you see how the wind picked up Crispin a little bit and then a little bit more and then even a little bit higher? And then suddenly, Flora was kicking off her super special heavy-duty red boots and spread her coat to the wind, and oh my, she was sailing upwards towards Crispin. She grabbed his hand and closed her eyes and wished that she were anywhere else in the world. So she took off her red boots because they were keeping her on the ground, and she went to go save her little brother Crispin. But soon Flora realized that being blown by the wind was comfortable. like riding along on a squishy flying chair. She decided that she would open her eyes. Just then she came upon a dragonfly. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the dragonfly. "He could polish my wings." "You silly dragonfly," scolded Flora. She knew that Crispin was too clumsy to clean such delicate wings. "He's my brother, and I'm taking him home, if the wind lets you," said the dragonfly. Flora and Crispin flew on until they came upon a sparrow. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the sparrow. "He could sit on my eggs." "What a mess that would be," said Flora, "as if Crispin could sit on eggs without breaking them. He's my brother, and I'm taking him home, if the wind lets you," said the sparrow. Flora and Crispin flew on until they came upon a rainbow. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the rainbow. "He could guard my pot of gold." Gold? That was tempting. But Flora thought, Crispin is not fierce enough to guard anything. No, he's my brother, and I'm taking him home. "If the wind lets you," said the rainbow. Flora and Crispin flew on until they came upon a cloud. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the cloud. "He could squeeze out my raindrops." Flora thought that the squeezing out raindrops sounded like fun, but Crispin would surely catch a cold, and then who would help him with his nose? "No, I won't give him to you. He's my brother, and I'm taking him home. If the wind lets you," said the cloud. Flora and Crispin flew on until they came upon an eagle. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the eagle. "He could sharpen my talons." Those are his claws. "You can't fool me," Flora said. She saw that hungry look in the eagle's eye. "He's my brother, and I'm taking him home." "If the wind lets you," said the eagle. Flora and Crispin flew on until they came upon the man in the moon. "Will you give me that little boy?" asked the man in the moon. "It's lonely up here, and he can keep me company." The man in the moon had a kind face, and he did look awfully lonely. But there was no chocolate chip cookies on the moon, and Crispin was fond of chocolate chip cookies. "I'm sorry, but I can't. He's my brother, and I'm taking him home." "If the wind lets you," said the man in the moon. Flora stomped her foot, or would have if there had been something to stomp on. "I'm tired of hearing that. Why won't the wind let us go home?" "You should ask him," answered the man in the moon. Flora hadn't thought about that. "Oh, wind, will you let us go home?" "I'll let you go home as soon as we find the right spot for Crispin," replied the wind. "You don't want to get rid of him, right?" "Yes, I did. Flora wasn't sure what she meant. "Because I couldn't even use him myself," said the wind. "To work my bellows." "No, thank you." Flora had finally decided. "I should take him home. My mother wouldn't like it if I lost him." "If that's what you really want," said the wind. "Oh, yes, please," said Flora. So the wind turned Flora and Crispin around and then blew them home. Flora put her super special heavy-duty red boots back on, then straightened Crispin's hat and brushed a shred of rainbow from his coat. She rang the doorbell and her mother opened the door. I decided to bring Crispin back, Flora told her. From where? Asked her mother. From the moon, said Flora. Oh, nonsense, said her mother. Now come inside. I've made some chocolate chip cookies. The end. There's her Flora and her little brother Crispin eating some chocolate chip cookies that Mommy had made. Have a great week. See you next time.